Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm this here Strategy Game, and we're returning to Let's Play of War in the West, where we've just encircled a couple of German divisions, a couple of infantry and panzer divisions actually, so it's going to be extremely interesting to find out what they're going to do over here. So I think probably the best shot they are going to have is to try to attack our tank division over here, the 11th Armoured Division. Do we actually have more stuff over here that we could assign to you? Yes, indeed we do. You know what? Let's do that. Let's assign at least the Lancers British Armoured Car Regiment, or maybe the 8th British Armoured Brigade Group. Yeah, I think you guys are going to support that, so hopefully these guys are going to be strong enough to withstand any German push out of this little pocket over here. We're going to see. We have brought in further troops, but they are still sort of on the ships partially, and partially just in the process of getting to the front lines here, really. But this would be a huge reinforce. There's the 130th Panzer Division, one of the famous German tank divisions. Then we've got the 84th Infantry, don't know that much about them. Part of the 346th Infantry Division, don't know about them either. But the 21st Panzer Division, we've encountered these guys before, and the 3rd Fallschirmjäger. So very, very strong encirclement over there. And we've made some pushes here into the up the river of the Saron. I don't know that one. So, yeah, let's see what the Germans are going to do. Very, very intrigued. I really don't know. But yeah, it is exciting. So, if we do get these German tanks, that would be fantastic. That would be really, really great. It would also be nice to capture this entire piece here of the Alps. If we do get that, yes, and indeed we do, so that is very nice. But what are the Germans going to do here? Let's find out. So, some air attacks apparently here. They are losing a couple of planes. That's to be expected. We did see better ratios at some point, but for now that seems to be fine. So, here we go then. Interestingly enough, they are repairing the Ruhr area here quite heavily. That is, of course, due to the fact that we are attacking them very strongly. Okay, so what's going on over here? So Panzer Division, the Infantry Division, and the Fallschirmjäger Division, these guys are trying to break out over here against the 4th Canadian Armoured Division and this part of the Cavalry Group. Now, these guys do suffer some penalties here because they are not in the same command, but we have been winning this quite comfortably. Losing 91 men, 7 tanks, they're losing 300 or so. It's more of a skirmish really at this point, but yeah. This is very nice, yeah. These guys are exhausted due to the pocketing situation there, so that's definitely very nice to see. Also in Avignon down here, these guys are of course holding, so that's great. But more attacks up over here. At some point they will wear us down, but they haven't done so yet. So that is nice to see. Are they running out of steam already? They have some very, very strong formation here on the northern flank, and you can see they actually brought down some SS tanks down here, so that is going to be tricky. I mean, they at least have 2 SS tank divisions and a normal tank division and some SS Panzer Grenadiers. Some Fallschirmjägers, more Fallschirmjägers down here. This is a very, very strong setup, but we are landing here in great force. So that is definitely extremely nice to see that we are making some progress. And it seems like we did manage to really cut them off there and maintain our little pocket there. So that is definitely great news for us as it turns over to the American side here. So very happy about that. We're not gaining as many victory points as we once did, but I think it's alright. We're still very positive over here, and it's to be expected that these casualties here are piling up in terms of victory points. So yeah, let's take a look at the situation over here. So these guys are now significantly weaker. I think they have built up their fortifications a little bit, but it seems like, yeah. Well, there's the 12th SS Panzer Division. There is the 17th Panzer Grenadier Division. I did think that I saw another one over here, but it might have been combined. These guys are actually fairly weak over here on the northern flank. Likewise, these guys. So yeah, they are already starting to lose some steam over here. I think it's due to the fact that we have really pounded their fuel situation. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing things are looking up somewhat, I would say, over here. And look at that, that's huge. So that is, they have evacuated Le Havre, so they have pulled out the main garrison over there. And they have a lot of flak down here. So I think it's now going to be viable. I mean, this is only the garrison. These guys must be relatively weak. They've still got a couple of anti-tank guns, some artillery, but not that much infantry. So I'm fairly hopeful that that means we can break through over here. And even if we can't, it might be that the 19th Luftwaffe Division down here is weak enough for us to actually try to clear it out. This is a fairly strong position here. Lots of Jagdpanzers. And then up over here we are starting to see some stronger divisions, especially this one over here. This is pretty strong. 116th Panzer Division. 40 Tigers, 20 Panthers. Lots of Panzer IVs. Interesting setup though, overall. So many extremely heavy tanks. So this must be very, very heavy tank formation actually. These guys over here pretty weak again, so that's kind of interesting. But I doubt whether we'll be able to achieve any big breakthrough over here. We'll have our hands full just by clearing these guys out, and probably some of these Canadian divisions here. Just how you're not actually that fatigued at all. That's interesting, isn't that? Or was that you guys? I think it might actually have been you guys. No, your fatigue is also pretty fine. Yeah, you guys are starting to look a little bit more, but that's okay. So how are we looking down here? Ooh, also very interesting. Yeah, so that must be where part of their tanks went. So we can see the 1st Panzer Division here. They are starting to look really strong. Lots of motorized brigades that have come down here. More tanks. The 11th Panzer. 2nd Panzer. P-26? What is that? Is that an Italian tank? I think it is. I don't know for sure. Right, and then further parts of the 2nd SS Panzer. 1st and 2nd SS Panzer are down here. Okay, they are starting to put up some stronger resistance over here. Now that is interesting. We don't have enough troops over here yet to really do anything against them. So I think we'll just try to establish our defensive line over here. And of course capture Avignon, bring up our supply capabilities at least towards Lyon before we can really affect anything else. But I think that's going to be a good choice. What's interesting to see that these guys, who are so strong, are so close here actually to the Swiss border and Lake Geneva. We might want to keep that in mind. Okay, you guys here are coming on shore. That's good to see, I think. Let's try to load you off in Nice or Nice, so that's good. How about up over here? Okay, they didn't actually push in any way whatsoever. They actually pulled back one of the, I think the 12th Panzer, the 12th SS Panzer, weren't these guys down there before? Yeah, they were. So these guys have now been withdrawn from Italy and sent to other fronts. Now that's a hugely interesting development, because that means they're pulling forces away from here, and that does make their line somewhat weaker, which ultimately, I mean, look at that. These guys are just like a third of a Fallschirmjäger division. That's interesting. Just 50 infantry platoons or whatever are guarding this. Interesting. This is still mountainous terrain, but we can potentially start or continue to push up these valleys down here. We can certainly make a dash towards Trieste. That is very, very great news. I'm really intrigued. But look at that, by the way. Just how many troops, how many planes they have now got centered around Vienna. That's hundreds of planes that they have got down here. That's more than hundreds. That's several hundred planes down here. That's at least just 50 on that airfield. That's another 50, so that's 100 already. That's, let's call that 80, 90, let's call that a little bit more than 80. This is definitely more than, this is just 300 planes on that already. 400, 500, let's call it. Slightly less than 600. They must have around 600 planes or so down here, just in that area. Just in Vienna. So that is only there to counter the 15th Air Force. And further aircraft down here. So they are starting to be really, really concerned about us making incursions across the Alps. And that's good news, because these are planes that are not going to be available to defend the Ruhr, Berlin, Hanover, Hamburg, any of that region. Or, of course, anything down here. We are starting to see the Luftwaffe putting more troops and more planes into France as well. So that is also encouraging, because I think that will hasten their downfall. That being said, I'm going to set up the air attacks, and then you guys can rejoin me in a second. So, there we are back again. Let's look at our air setup. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but let's walk through that. So, down here, this is actually something that we should disable. So, for a second over here. So, what we've got is we're going to attack the city of Avignon. Not a big surprise. We're going to support with the Desert Air Force here. We've got about 200 also Mitchells and Wellingtons, so 2 engine aircraft coming in and supporting over there. We've also got a couple of ground attack missions and supports over here, so direct support here by Fighter Command, as we usually do it with the fighter bombers. And then we've got a couple of fighter bombers doing disruption attacks over here, because I was looking at this and I was thinking, well, we've got the 1st Fallschirmjäger here, and we've got a little bit of the 4th Fallschirmjäger division here. These guys don't seem particularly strong. In the middle of that, we do, on the other hand, have a bit more than an infantry division, and these guys are actually strong. So if we do manage to take them out on the flank, then maybe, just maybe, we can get behind them, do a little bit of mischief there, and maybe encircle these guys. At the very least, do push them up further into this valley, make their entire position here a little bit less tenable. So I think that's a good idea. We're certainly going to do that. So we're also going to attack down here. These guys are not particularly weak. Strength 12, that's not hugely weak, but it does allow us to attack the port of Trieste and potentially capture that, so that I think is going to be hugely important for us. Now, in terms of strategic bombing, what we're doing is we're going to attack the Alpine region. I really don't feel like going to Vienna. We don't really need to go to Romania yet, so let's stick around to that plan here. I'm slightly afraid of the fighters at Vienna, but we are going to see. Now, we do need to revisit the Black Hammers and the synthetic fuel refineries here with the B-24s, long-ranged aircraft here. So these guys are going to be a little bit weak, and I've actually noticed that the German flag setup, remember we're looking at the 2nd number here, the high altitude flag, they've extended that to Dessau. I think Dessau has been shot up immensely, and that does mean that there's pretty much a wall here of level 9 flak guns, which will make it extremely difficult to pass through this entire region. We can't really pass through here. Remember, these guys can fire at adjacent fields, so pretty much either we have to pass north of Dessau or south, sort of Zwickau. So south of Zwickau, that's a little bit fanciful. That does mean we're flying through pretty much all of Germany here, over these mountains potentially. I don't like that idea. Now, what I do dislike too is flying so close to Berlin. Remember that the northernmost city here is Dessau, so pretty much we have to fly, just to not be adjacent to Dessau, we have to pretty much fly close to Berlin. And that did bring the idea, now, why not take the 8th, the 1st and 3rd bombing division of the 8th Air Force and try to bomb Berlin with these guys. So these guys are going to visit Berlin, and that should draw the German fighters towards that region, and they're going to come in on a vaguely the same vector over here. So for the most part, these guys should be protected around the Berlin region. Only these guys here do lose their escort aircrafts slightly after Berlin, so I'm vaguely fine with this. Hopefully that is not going to result in too many casualties here on 2nd Bombardment Wing. It's going to be supported by a little bit of air superiority. The Bomber Command guys are going to visit Kassel and try to disrupt the heavy Tigers and King Tiger factories down here. Hopefully going to be successful there, but let's see. Now, let's look at the mess that we've got over here. So, firstly, most of these are actually air superiority missions. So, as you can see, there are 3 air superiority missions. Fighter Command doing some intruder missions. 13 Group and number 11 Group RAF flying sort of vaguely over the battlefield here, trying to disrupt any Germans that are forming up there. So, that's not a big deal, I think. Now, the rest of these things is actually pretty much focused on a couple of ground attacks. We are going to attack these tank formations that we have encircled, and then we're going to use the 2nd RAF group to extend this out a little bit and actually hit the rear area here, and maybe we can do some things over there. So that would be fantastic. The heavier bombs of 2nd RAF Tactical are going to come over here and attack there, and that is because, well, I'm fairly confident that we might be able to take Le Havre. next turn with only the garrison being present here, and it's pretty much only 100 infantry or so, and a lot of anti-air guns. So hopefully we are going to be able to take that. But what if not? If not, I would at least like to be able to try to attack this Luftwaffe field division over here, cross the river, cut off Le Havre, make our chances of capturing it the turn after so much more likely. So hopefully that is going to work. We are flying this slightly weird pattern in coming into this attack. Come on, where do we stand? Oh, yeah, I do need to enable that. So we're flying this slightly weird pattern because I want to avoid all of the AA guns at Le Havre. Right, I think that's it. So we went through that rather quickly. Let's execute all of these air directives, see what is going to happen. And of course I'm going to have that on the highest speed setting over here. Interestingly enough, we are raking up some casualties while the Germans are a little bit delayed, but there they are. They're coming in force and intercepting a couple of our missions. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that to the same vigor as they did before. So that's interesting. They are losing less aircraft over here. Maybe they just can't fly because they don't have any fuel. That just might be a possibility. Nevertheless, I do see our number of losses to air combat is also climbing up. So sometimes they must be flying and we can't engage them. On the other hand, still by far the most common type of losses that we are facing here is operational losses. Right, looks pretty good though. I think 200 planes or so per week. That's a decent-ish number of losses. Now the Tiger factory slightly damaged, really, but yeah, RAF, especially when RAF is outside of Obera range, so outside of their night navigation aids, they're just really not that good. Right, let's briefly look at the situation though and what we've got over here. So can I actually look at the things, please? Yes, thank you. So 46 losses here on these guys. That's a little bit harsh. That's a little bit unfortunate. 46 losses on second bombardment group. That's really not that nice. So let's look at you guys. 8th Air Force. How did the rest of you fare? Relatively well. I think we've seen better. But on the other hand, we did damage a little bit of Berlin, and especially the Dukes and Panther factories here. So yeah, I think that's okay-ish at least. Right, no big losses here on anyone else, except for, of course, the second bombardment group. You guys did lose more than 40 planes. Wow. How did you lose so many planes? It's mostly escorts, actually. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't seem like you lost that many bombers. Only 13 bombers lost. And what do we lose them against? I'm guessing it's just operational losses and stuff. Yeah, one operational, one air-to-air. It's probably, yeah, just these Fokker Wolves. They're coming in, they're probably a little bit experienced. No, not actually that much. Yeah, well, at least you did fulfill your mission, so I think that's good to see. Wait, wrong screen. Sometimes the wrong screen pops up there. But yeah, you can see we are doing a lot of damage here. So that is nice, but at what cost? So, not great. 12th Bomber Command, you guys doing fine. Okay, fine. Good. Let's get to the ground phase. Let's see what we can do. So I think we're going to start down here, simply because it is just the cleanest setup that we've got right now at the moment. So we've got all of these guys who are on the same side of the river. If I attack with you, I think that should be enough. Okay, let's try to attack with you guys because I do not want to use all of the other guys. Yeah, there we go. Avenue de Pont is captured. The Germans are losing 70,000 men here. 100 tanks, more than 100 tanks, more than 100 guns. We're losing a little bit too, but all in all, we have Avignon now. So I think that result speaks for itself, and that's very, very nice. And that does allow us to push up our forces much, much more aggressively. Now, that being said, aggressively is fine, but I don't think we're really going to get all the way to Lyon here with our forces. Even if we start building up the rail line here, and we've now made our way through most of this mountainous terrain, we're still very far away from actually being able to support any logistics there. So that is a bit of an issue. Well, we do have a tank here too. Yeah, but you guys are sort of set up. You just landed. So that is going to take a while for you to become effective. Do we have any motorized troops down here? No. So pretty much all of you guys are going to be irrelevant for the immediate fighting. That's going to be alright though. Oh, you guys aren't. So definitively can push you up. Pretty much to Lyon and beyond that, I think. So that's nice. You guys can be pushed up too. And that does almost allow us to think about this guy over here. So the 1st SS Panzer Division, 200 tanks, plus all of the associated, plus further fighting vehicles. That is fairly significant. And we still have some supply over here. So just maybe, it would be viable to come, let's say, to right about here. And maybe do... Let's pick up these Indians too. Let's do a hasty attack here. We are pushing them back. Add serious losses. But we did push them back. So, that's okay. Let's try to push these guys back. Yeah, we do that. Nice. Right, okay. Let's try to maintain some cohesion here. Right, you guys can in fact get over here. That's brilliant. You guys can't support you there. That's a little bit less well. Okay, but you know what? You guys can get over here. You guys can get there. That's nice. You guys can get over here. And we've got a nice little encirclement here. It's not the strongest encirclement ever, but it is a good encirclement. So, yeah, happy about that. What's going to be the weakest point? Probably going to be the South African armoured there. So let's actually push you up over here and do a deliberate attack. No, do a hasty attack here. Just to get them a little bit to the rear here and make our ability to resupply these guys a little bit stronger. Right, that's good. I like it. I like it. Right, let's get you over here. Let's start to form a cohesive line so that these guys are not so easy to overwhelm. That's alright. And then you guys are going to pull back a little bit, just so that we have a decent defensive line here. They might try to flank us here towards Lyon, but there's only so much that we can do about it. And yeah, well, we do have some guys over here, so let's actually set you up on these hills here. I think that's fine. They might try to flank us further still, but just maybe we're going to have something over here. No, not for now. It will take some time to move all of the infantry up. And of course build up the rail line to actually support this as a sort of a long-term defense. Just maybe we're going to be able to contain these guys. That would be fantastic. That would be brilliant, because let's go to the big thing over here. So that is going to be the nicest thing, I think. Right. So just how likely are you going to know? These guys still have 12 defensive power. These guys have 7.7. So these guys are still fairly strong, I have to say. Good. Let's nevertheless try to get a couple of these guys here off the ships. You're currently still on ship. You are. And someone else is over here. Well, that's alright. Okay, we've got a large number of tank brigades here. Czech guys. Here are the Czechs, here are the Belgians, here are the Dutch. I think I transferred some Dutch troops over here. Yeah, there we go. Princess Irene. So, what are we going to do with all of these forces? How much can we push forward? Now, let's try to use the infantry here as much as possible. Right, anyone else over here? No. We've got this armoured division. But okay, what we're going to do then is we're going to take these infantry divisions and this one and going to do a deliberate attack against these forces here. They are surrendering 4-1. We're actually taking very few casualties here. 21,000 Germans gone. 200 German tanks gone. That is brilliant. That is very, very nice to see. Good. Now, before we clear that out, I actually want to find out whether we're going to be successful in Le Havre. I'm going to take everyone here except the 6 British Para. So pretty much only the 1st British Corps is going to attack here. Deliberate attack. And this time we make it. And they have a billion. They have got a billion flak battalions in this town here to prevent us from capturing it. And we are capturing now. We are getting all of these people here to surrender. So that is fairly nice. 12,000 Germans. More than half of them manning the AA guns. That is fantastic, guys. We are moving into Le Havre. And of course, we are going to assign a priority 4 depot over here, and we ask these guys to repair the port and the rail yard, I think, and that is going to be fantastic. That's very nice. That's the first significant harbour that we have captured over here, and I'm extremely happy about that. Good. Now, the next question is, since we are here, and since these guys are fairly well equipped with artillery and engineers and all of that, there's a good question of whether or not we want to attack and maybe get a foothold here on the other side of the river. That would make it a little bit more likely that these guys can start their repairs, can be very effective over there. By the way, how is Dieppe looking? 65%, it's okay. And get some breathing room here, so just maybe, just how likely would it be for you guys to, you just can't do an attack here. Can you do a hasty attack? You could do a hasty attack. Right, let's try it. That's 6 points. You guys do have more than that, right? Do we have any reserves over here? No, we don't. How important is it for us to get on the other side of the River Seine? It's a nice jumping board. It's a potential to do more encirclements. It does threaten them kind of nicely. They've got too many headquarters down here. But on the other hand, it's also a good defensive line for us, and I think we want to channel our aggression pretty much through this valley down here. So maybe not. Right, can you guys do a deliberate attack? You can. How much defensive power do they actually have? A bit, but not too much. So let's get you over here. I think that's fine. Do we have any further infantry who could participate? Pretty much no. Well, maybe you. If we only select you. Good. You guys. That's 4 divisions. Let's try to do that. Yes. Success. 20,000 Germans gone. Another 20,000 Germans and another 100 German tanks gone. Lovely. I like it. And we didn't even use our tanks here in the front line. So that's even better. Because that does mean we can start to look for weak points in their line. Now, we've certainly got a weak point down here, but one weak point, of course, is just not going to be enough. We do need a little bit more than that, just to try to maybe achieve an encirclement somewhere. Now, these Panzergrenadiers down here, they don't look particularly strong. 7. These guys down here are 13. These guys are 9. Yeah, and these are only 2. 13, 4.2. Now, it's tempting to try to encircle these Fallschirmjägers, or even more, of course, up over here, these guys. I mean, another Fallschirmjäger division, even if it's a weak one, and a SS Panzer division, even if it's not the strongest one, that would be tempting. How likely do we think we can break through over here? 12. We've got a 32 against 7.1. Okay, I think that should work. Let's try to achieve a breakthrough here against these SS Panzergrenadiers. Yeah, we are pushing them back actually very nicely. 6 against 1. That's brilliant. We are losing 1,000 men, nearly as many as they do, but we did manage to push them back, and that's what counts over here. So lovely, I think. Paratrooper division. Okay, can any one of you actually move into here? The Canadians can. Good enough. You guys all a little bit exhausted. That's alright though. Right, so let's then try to do this down here. So what I want to do then is probably take, let's say, the Belgians. Belgians to the front. And you together with the 11th British Armoured are going to do an attack over here. Hasty attack. Should be enough to push them back. Yeah, we are taking more losses than we need to. I think that's alright. How far can you guys go to the rear of their line? Pretty far, actually. So that is good. That's nice. Okay, let's get you over here. Who else can try to create the breakthrough over there? And by the way, how far can you get? You can certainly get behind their lines. Likewise, the Polish guys. Yeah, you could also try to make your way over there. That is nice. That is opening another potential for an encirclement here. Right, okay, you guys, okay, you can't actually attack, so that's pretty much up to you. So that's definitely not going to be sufficient. Let's try to pull forward our Canadian tanks. And the Canadian tanks, supported by the cavalry group, that should be enough to really get them out of our way. It is. Nice. Good. Canadians, forward, 1 hex. Good. And then we're going to take the Poles. They can make it all the way over here, and in the process they're going to kick back these guys, and they're going to sever that rail line, which I think is going to be fantastic, actually. We could actually stay over here, which would make it a little bit more difficult for them to maneuver around and stuff. Not a bad idea. How about you guys, the other Canadians here? You're actually fairly fine. Okay, let's move you over here. Did push them back. Did capture this part of the rail line there. Nice. That does mean we can potentially move you... Well, how do we want to support that down there? Well, there's nothing on this northern front, so actually I do think what we need to do then is take the Canadian Armoured Brigade over here, and that does sort of neatly put all of these Canadians together over here, which is pretty nice as well. Good. So that part of the front is fine. Good. You could go, you can't really make it anywhere else than over here. That's okay though. And then we've got the Czechs. Right, let's move the Czechs over here. Let's take the... I do think we had a motorized brigade over here as well, right? Yeah, the Dutch. Dutch and Czech, of course, are going to watch that. That's okay. British Armoured is going to get over here. Don't need to waste more stuff than we need to. Literally. Right, you guys get into the gap over there. So that's okay. We've got them encircled, at least somewhat encircled. Canadians can guard against that approach there. Actually, do you have a single division? No, there's another Canadian division over here. Okay, fine. Can you switch places? No, you can't. Alright, alright. Then we've got individual calls over here, which I think we can potentially exchange against a couple of these divisions. Right, so let's bolster these defenses there, and let's then take this brigade here. And I think these 2 brigades are going to be holding out on this front. Yes, they are facing these 2 infantry divisions, but they're also facing that front, so I think that's okay, and that does mean we can move this infantry here into the gap, which is fairly fantastic. Nice. I like it. What's the weakest point? Potentially this armoured division, potentially these 2 guys. Okay, these 2 guys, can we at least use the... maybe the Polish armoured? Yeah, let's move you up there, that's okay. Right. Doing fine here. Anything else that we want to take? We've got this brigade. We could just do some mischief over here. Try to exert a little bit more zone of control, make it a little bit more difficult for them. Potentially entice them to withdraw. On the other hand, we would just be exposed, so don't necessarily like that. Okay, let's stick over there. And I do think we need a little bit more defensive power over here. I'm kind of afraid about this situation up over there. So let's move you into there. That's alright. That is pretty much it in terms of our reserves. We've pretty much committed everything now, which I'm not particularly happy about. You guys are reserve, so that you can attack anywhere where we do feel it's required. And I think we can actually withdraw you guys from over here as well. Yeah, let's get you there. So you guys are resting up now, that's okay. It would be brilliant if I could pull you guys back, but I'm not sure that we can. No, I don't really see any potential for us to do that. Well, that's not quite true. Let's move the Paras up to over here, and then these guys here can move up there, and that does mean that we can use these 2 armoured brigades. Move them back there, I think that's going to be alright. have them rest up a little bit, and then next time around they're going to be ready to do some further attacks and further, yeah, just further attacks into various different regions over here. It's very nice that we have some freedom to maneuver around over here. That's brilliant. So that's another tank division and another Falchimia and security regiment. Security regiment doesn't really matter, but the other guys do. So fantastic. Now that probably does mean, since I do think we are making good progress over here, and we did actually capture Le Havre now, probably we are also going to pull in the 3rd Infantry over here, sorry, the 3rd US Army over here under General Patton. These guys are pretty much centered around the heavy American armored divisions, which so far have been pretty much absent from the European theatre. But if we do have some sort of almost maneuver warfare over here, I think that is kind of promising. So yeah, I think we're going to bring these guys in. We don't need to do any secondary landings around Cherbourg or Brest. We're just directly going to focus on that and very aggressively try to double down on that. The biggest push from over here is probably going to be onto Antwerp and onto Paris. Paris, to cut the rail lines and pretty much most of the east-west traffic. They only have about 3 to 4 lines left standing. And Antwerp, because it's going to be a hugely important harbour. Speaking of harbour, let's jump down to Italy, see what we can do down here. So we've got 2 objectives over here. I think what we would really want to do is push these guys away, which we are very conveniently doing there. With very minimal casualties as well, so that's nice, good. I like it, obviously. Right, everything else over here is fine. How many armored divisions do we actually have? We've got this Polish armored brigade. We've got a full armored division down here. Let's actually, for a second here, move the Italians forward towards this spot over here. And then that does mean this armored division can make it potentially over there. But you can't make it behind that, so that is a little bit unfortunate. Right, we can use you guys to come up over here. Can you break through here? Potentially not alone. Let's also take the Poles and the US Corps. You guys are going to do a deliberate attack against these guys. Fine. Shifting them back, that's very lovely to see. Can't advance any further with you. To be expected, but alright. You guys gonna go into their rear over here. We've got the armored division over here, the British one. You guys can get over there. Now we do need something over here. Did I just bungle that up? I might have. Well, you can get over there. You can get into here. But do we have anyone who can get into that gap? You could, but you're kind of very weak. You're just the Special Forces Regiment. I thought we sort of had a little bit more down here. I miscalculated that a little bit. Now, how about you? You know what? You can actually make it over there. So that, I think, does make more sense. Okay, push these guys up over here. Take the Poles. Move the Poles over there. Use this armored to bring you guys up over here. And you there. That's potentially a little bit more hassle than it needed to be, but I think it's going to be alright because it's unlikely that they're going to attack into this direction because it would just make their bad situation even worse. So, yeah, I think that's fine. So that does leave the situation down here. I would have loved to get to Trieste, but given the situation, well, you guys might cover for us over here. We've got a couple of guys here that just could about make it. So, okay, what we can do then is get you into here. Got a nice, decent line over there. Good. Let's try to do a hasty attack with you guys. Yeah, enough to push them back. Lovely. That's a city. You guys can make it over here and potentially do an attack. Okay, let's get you, both of you over here, do a hasty attack against Trieste. Trieste is ours. Good. I like it. Nice. Slightly extended front line there. You guys do need to support that over there. We've got pretty much no reserves over here. but I think we still can be pretty happy about the situation as is. There's some weak lines, some weak points in this line, most certainly. But all in all, I think we are fairly confident over here. Yeah, and we have encircled an infantry division and then some. And we've gotten the port of Trieste, which definitely is going to be priority 4. Actually, the port is pretty much intact, so that's good news as well. Nevertheless, we are going to initiate priority repairs over here. And I think our rail line is almost connected up to that point. Yeah, we actually have it all the way over here. So once we have basically linked this up a little bit, we definitely already have Trieste. So that's very, very nice. Making some progress over here. And these guys down here will also make it at least towards Avignon, if not a little bit further. So that is good. But I think that does pretty much conclude our ground operations here. We don't need to break out from here yet. Do we have any further forces that we've got? Yeah. Some Free French, we're definitely going to bring them up, and I'm going to push up everything here just to get a clean front line. I'm probably going to start bringing in the third US Army. That's going to be the 4th army on the continent, and thereupon probably we can bring in even the army group here onto the continent. I mean, we're almost at the outskirts of Paris, isn't that brilliant? And it's June 1944. Basically, just compare that to the historical timeline, especially down here in the Rhone Valley, but also definitely in northeastern France. This here feels a little bit, I'm not sure whether we are making enough progress here, but it's also good that we have now this territory here, because just look at that. Klagenfurt, this is the German border over here, I think, isn't it? Yeah. We have touched the German border, actually. Admittedly, it's Austria, and admittedly, it's Carthagia, so probably the least canton, the least important region of the entire Reich. But still, look at that. I'm very happy. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Hope to see you around next time. Bye-bye.